Have you ever walked into a room full of people and felt an invisible weight pressed down on your shoulders? Imagine standing in the midst of a crowd, where every laugh and whisper seems to echo inside you, not just as a sound, but as a palpable wave of emotion. This isn't just about being overwhelmed, it's about feeling every undercurrent, every shift, as if each person's joy, pain, or anxiety is mingling with your own spirit. Now imagine carrying that weight day in and day out, feeling it multiply with each interaction, each meeting, until the mere thought of a social gathering starts to drain you before you even step out the door. This is the reality for some of us, a reality where the gift of profound spiritual sensitivity also comes with battles that few see. For those who feel deeply, who absorb the energies around them as their own, crowded spaces can transform from places of fellowship to arenas of intense emotional labor. Where others see community, they feel chaos. Where others feel excitement, they might feel exhaustion. This isn't a choice. It's a part of who they are. Chosen ones called to navigate their path in a world that doesn't always understand their journey. Today, we delve into why this happens, why those who are spiritually sensitive, the chosen ones, might find solitude not just comforting, but necessary for survival. Join me as we explore the unseen battles fought in the quiet corners of their hearts and minds, and perhaps, in doing so, we can learn not just to understand, but to truly support each other in our unique spiritual journeys. Reason 1: heightened sensitivity to spiritual atmospheres. Imagine walking into a bustling marketplace. For most people, this scene bursts with vibrant life and energy, a place of excitement and opportunity. But for Sarah, a woman deeply attuned to her spiritual calling, marketplace feels entirely different. As she steps in, she is immediately engulfed by a wave of emotions and energies, each stall and person adding to an overwhelming cacophony that few others notice. Sarah's experience is not unique among those identified as chosen ones. These individuals possess an innate sensitivity to the spiritual atmospheres around them. This heightened awareness allows them to perceive spiritual and emotional undercurrents that are invisible to others. While this can be a gift, enabling deep connections with the spiritual realm, it also comes with its burdens. In crowded spaces, the myriad of intersecting energies and emotions can create a sensory overload. This overload is not just uncomfortable, it can be paralyzing, drowning out their ability to focus or connect meaningfully with God and others. This kind of spiritual sensitivity is not new. In the Bible, we find Elijah, a prophet who was deeply sensitive to God's presence. After a dramatic display of God's power on Mount Carmel, Elijah fled to the wilderness, overwhelmed by fear and fatigue. In 1 Kings 19, God did not appear to him in the wind, earthquake, or fire, but rather in a gentle whisper. This story highlights how God often communicates in subtleties that require a quiet, receptive spirit to discern, a state hard to maintain amidst chaos. Sarah, like many chosen ones, finds that her sensitivity, while a conduit for profound spiritual experiences, also necessitates boundaries, particularly emotional ones. Reason 2: emotional overload. Consider the story of David, a youth pastor known for his empathetic nature. At a recent community gathering, David found himself surrounded by dozens of people, each carrying their own joys, sorrows, and burdens. As he interacted with person after person, each conversation seemed to add a weight to his shoulders. By the end of the evening, David felt completely drained, as though he had not just spoken to people, but had absorbed a piece of each of their emotions. David's experience illustrates a common challenge for chosen ones: emotional overload. Their deep empathy and sensitivity allow them to connect profoundly with others, sensing their emotions as if they were their own. This trait, while invaluable in ministry and personal relationships, comes with the cost of emotional exhaustion when exposed to large groups. The myriad of emotions present in such settings can be overwhelming, making it difficult for chosen one to shield themselves from taking on the emotional energy of those around them. To cope with this overload, it's crucial for chosen ones to develop strategies for emotional self-care. These can include setting boundaries, learning to say no or stepping away when feeling overwhelmed, practicing grounding techniques, engaging in practices like deep breathing, meditation, or prayer to center oneself amidst chaos. Scheduled quiet time, regularly setting aside time for solitude to process emotions and rejuvenate their spiritual and emotional reserves. While managing emotional overload is crucial, the physical environment itself can also significantly impact chosen ones. They not only absorb the emotions, but are also sensitive to the physical spaces around them. This sensitivity to environments leads us to another important reason. Chosen ones may seek solitude, the need for physical spaces of peace. Reason 3. Need for physical spaces of peace. Imagine Anna, a devoted church volunteer who, after a long day of community service, retreats to her favorite spot in the city, a small, secluded park bench under an old oak tree. Away from the noise and bustle, Anna finds her sanctuary. As the gentle breeze rustles through the leaves, she feels a sense of peace wash over her, recharging her spiritual and emotional batteries. For chosen ones like Anna, the physical environment plays a crucial role in their spiritual well-being. While they are adept at navigating social situations when necessary, they thrive in environments that foster peace and tranquility. Crowded or chaotic settings can disrupt their inner calm and distract them from spiritual contemplation. In contrast, peaceful, serene settings allow them to reconnect with God, reflect deeply on their faith, and regain their spiritual focus. This need for quiet and solitary spaces is exemplified in the life of Jesus Christ. The Gospels frequently mention Jesus withdrawing to lonely, quiet places to pray. These moments of solitude were vital for him to commune with the Father and rejuvenate his spirit for the tasks ahead. This practice underscores the importance of finding physical spaces that allow for deep spiritual renewal. Just as the physical environment can affect their spiritual state, chosen ones also crave depth in their relationships. Unlike the broad but shallow interactions common in large groups, they seek connections that are rich and meaningful. This leads us to our next point, the depth of relationships that chosen ones tend to build and maintain. Reason 4. Depth of relationships. Meet James, a small group leader who deeply values the connections he forms within his church community. Unlike larger church gatherings where interactions often remain on the surface, James cherishes the small group meetings held in the quiet corner of the church library. Here, conversations dive into profound spiritual and personal territories, creating bonds that are both deep and enduring. These are the connections that sustain him, the ones he considers vital to his growth and well-being as a chosen one. For many chosen ones like James, superficial interactions often feel unfulfilling and even draining. They possess a unique capacity for deep empathy and understanding, which drives them to seek relationships that go beyond casual exchanges. In these deeper relationships, they find spiritual nourishment and a genuine exchange of life experiences and faith-driven insights. This preference is not about exclusivity. It's about the necessity for meaningful engagement that aligns with their spiritual mission and personal depth. Jesus Christ himself exemplified this preference for deep, meaningful relationships. While he spoke to multitudes and was accessible to all, he formed a closer, more intimate circle with his 12 disciples. Within this circle, Jesus shared deeper teachings, expressed personal emotions like grief and anguish, and prepared the disciples for their future missions. These relationships were not just functional, they were foundational to his ministry and demonstrate the value of depth over breadth in spiritual connections. The need for meaningful relationships naturally leads to challenges when chosen ones are misunderstood or judged by others, who might view their preference for depth over quantity in social interactions as aloofness or exclusivity. This brings us to our next topic, the misunderstandings and judgments that chosen ones often face in broader social settings. Reason 5. Misunderstandings and judgments. Consider the experience of Lisa, a devout Christian and a respected member of her church choir. Despite her commitment, she often finds large social gatherings within the church community overwhelming and prefers smaller, more intimate groups. Her tendency to step away from larger events has sometimes been misinterpreted by others as aloofness or a lack of friendliness, leading to feelings of isolation and misunderstanding. For chosen ones like Lisa, their need for meaningful interaction and quieter environments can frequently lead to misjudgments. They are often seen as withdrawn or unapproachable, not because they desire to be distant, but because they're protecting their spiritual and emotional well-being. These misunderstandings can add an additional layer of emotional burden, as chosen ones must navigate not only their internal sensitivities, but also the external perceptions of those around them. To bridge this gap, it is essential for chosen ones to communicate their needs and reasons for their preferences transparently. Open communication, regularly sharing why certain environments feel overwhelming, can help others understand their perspective. Advocates. Building relationships with a few understanding individuals who can help explain their situation to a broader group can be beneficial. Educating others. Taking opportunities to educate their community about different ways people experience and express their faith can foster greater empathy and understanding. While it is crucial to manage misunderstandings and judgments, maintaining a clear sense of mission and purpose helps chosen ones stay focused on their calling, regardless of external perceptions. This clarity of mission is particularly vital when navigating complex social dynamics and leads us to our next point: the importance of maintaining a clear and focused mission amidst the noise of the world. Reason 6, clarity of mission and purpose. Imagine Thomas, a community outreach coordinator who often feels the pull of numerous good causes and social events. Yet he is selective about where he invests his energy. This selectiveness is sometimes misconstrued as indifference, but for Thomas, it's about maintaining a clear vision of his calling. His careful choices ensure that his actions align directly with his spiritual mission, allowing him to have the most significant impact where it matters most. For chosen ones like Thomas, clarity of mission is not just helpful, it's essential. In a world filled with noise and endless distractions, being clear about one's divine purpose helps to navigate through choices that could dilute their effectiveness or lead them astray. This clarity comes from deep reflection, prayer, and often solitude, which allows them to tune out the clutter and focus on what God has called them to do. The Bible provides clear examples of this kind of focused mission. Consider Nehemiah, who was tasked with rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Despite numerous distractions and opposition, he stayed his course, often responding to detractors with, "I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down." His single-mindedness in the face of multiple challenges underscores the power of a clear, divinely ordained mission. Maintaining such clarity of mission requires not just spiritual discernment, but also a deliberate guarding of one's spiritual and emotional energy. This guarding is crucial because chosen ones need to remain spiritually sensitive and avoid being drained by circumstances or environments that do not align with their calling. Next, we will explore how chosen ones manage to guard their spiritual energy effectively in the face of numerous demands. Reason 7, enhanced spiritual discernment. Meet Rebecca, a spiritual director who assists others in navigating their faith journeys. During a one-on-one session at a quiet cafe, Rebecca sensed her client was struggling with more than she was willing to verbalize. This perception led Rebecca to gently guide the conversation toward deeper issues, ultimately helping her client uncover significant, unaddressed spiritual wounds. This discernment was possible not in a bustling setting, but in a serene environment where Rebecca could fully tune in to the subtle cues of her client's spirit. For chosen ones, like Rebecca, spiritual discernment is a critical skill. It involves understanding not just the words spoken, but the deeper currents of the soul. This heightened sensitivity is crucial for ministry and personal relationships, allowing them to respond not just to surface issues, but to deeper spiritual needs. In crowded or chaotic environments, this kind of discernment can be drowned out by the noise, which is why solitude or calm settings are often sought by those who need to practice discernment effectively. Enhancing spiritual discernment involves several practices that nurture this ability. Regular prayer and meditation, committing time to communicate with God and meditate on His Word, sharpens one's spiritual awareness. Mindful listening, practicing active, intentional listening during conversations, helps in picking up subtle spiritual cues. Reflective journaling, writing down thoughts and spiritual experiences can provide insights that improve discernment over time. While spiritual discernment allows chosen ones to navigate interpersonal relationships more effectively, it also plays a crucial role in managing their own spiritual energy. This management is essential because without it, the very resource they rely on to serve and lead can become depleted. Next, we will explore how chosen ones guard their spiritual energy to remain effective in their callings. Reason 8, guarding spiritual energy. Michael, a church elder, vividly recalls a weekend retreat packed with workshops, worship sessions, and social activities. By the end of the first day, despite the uplifting content and the joy of fellowship, he felt utterly drained. The constant interaction and the need to be socially on sapped him of his vitality, showing how even positive environments can be exhausting for chosen ones if they're not careful with their energy management. For chosen ones like Michael, preserving spiritual energy isn't just about avoiding fatigue. It's about maintaining the capacity to fulfill God's calling. These individuals often find that their energy is not infinite and must be managed wisely to avoid burnout. Crowds, even in spiritual settings, can act as energy siphons, pulling away the mental and spiritual focus needed for deeper ministry. Therefore, understanding how to shield and replenish their energy is critical. To guard their spiritual energy effectively, chosen ones can adopt several practices. Strategic solitude, regularly scheduling time alone to pray, meditate, and rest in the presence of God, away from the demands of community life. Selective engagement, choosing carefully which events and activities to participate in, ensuring they align with their spiritual goals and don't lead to overextension. Physical care, recognizing that spiritual vitality is linked to physical well-being, incorporating rest, nutrition, and exercise into their routines. Preserving energy is pivotal, not only for personal well-being, but also for sustaining long-term commitments in ministry and life. When chosen ones manage their energy well, they ensure they can continue their work effectively over the long haul. Next, we explore how managing energy and maintaining focus on their spiritual mission helps chosen ones sustain their long-term commitments to their callings. Reason 9. Sustaining long-term commitments. Consider the story of Elizabeth, who has been leading a women's prayer group in her church for over 2 decades. Elizabeth's commitment has not wavered, but she attributes her endurance not only to her passion, but also to her deliberate strategies for managing her spiritual energy. By recognizing early on that she could not attend every church event or meet every demand, she preserved her strength to continue serving effectively in her primary commitment. For chosen ones like Elizabeth, sustaining long-term commitments is about more than mere persistence. It requires smart energy management and clear priorities. These individuals often feel a deep sense of duty and calling that drives them to commit for the long haul. However, without strategic management of their resources, particularly their spiritual and emotional energy, even the most dedicated can face burnout. This makes their selective participation not a luxury, but a necessity. The Apostle Paul is a prime example of someone who sustained long-term commitments through wise energy management. Throughout his missionary journeys, as recorded in the Acts of the Apostles, Paul was selective about where he traveled, often guided by visions and the Holy Spirit. He also took time for rest and recovery, even amidst his fervent ministry, demonstrating the biblical precedents for wise pacing and energy management. Understanding the importance of sustaining long-term commitments through careful energy management naturally leads to the conclusion of our discussion. Here we will recap the reasons why chosen ones might find it challenging to be around many people, reinforcing the message that these traits, while sometimes misunderstood, are crucial for their spiritual health and effectiveness in their callings. Reason 10. Need for deep personal reflection and connection with God. Meet Benjamin, a church counselor who dedicates significant time to helping others navigate their spiritual paths. However, Benjamin knows that to serve effectively, he must also maintain his own spiritual health. Each morning before the day begins, he spends an hour in his garden, a quiet place where he can pray, read scripture, and reflect deeply. This routine is his lifeline, essential for keeping his faith strong and his counsel wise. For chosen ones like Benjamin, the need for deep personal reflection is crucial. This reflective practice allows them to connect with God on a profound level, recharging their spiritual batteries and gaining insights into His will for their lives. It's a time to align their actions with God's plans, ensuring they remain effective and true to their calling. In the chaos of social settings, this connection can become strained, making solitude not just beneficial, but necessary for maintaining their spiritual integrity. Scripture is replete with examples of the importance of reflection and prayer. Jesus himself often withdrew to quiet places to pray, as seen in Luke 5:16, where he retreats to the wilderness for solitude with the Father. These moments of solitude were vital for his ministry and spiritual sustenance, serving as a model for all believers, especially chosen ones, on the necessity of carving out time for solitary communion with God. As we conclude our exploration of why chosen ones might find it challenging to be around many people, we can see that each of these reasons, sensitivity to atmospheres, emotional overload, the need for peaceful spaces, deep relationships, and personal reflection, contributes to their unique spiritual journey. These elements ensure they can serve God and their communities with the depth and integrity their callings demand. As we wrap up our exploration of the unique challenges and spiritual needs of chosen ones, I invite you to reflect on your own experiences. Do you identify with the reasons discussed today? How do you manage your spiritual and emotional health in crowded settings? Share your stories and insights in the comments below. Your experiences enrich our community and help others feel seen and understood. If today's discussion resonated with you, consider taking proactive steps to manage your spiritual environment. Perhaps start by identifying a quiet place where you can engage in daily reflection, or by choosing to participate selectively in social events that align with your spiritual needs. Remember, understanding and respecting your limits is not a weakness, but a form of spiritual wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insightful content like this. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family members who might also benefit from understanding these spiritual dynamics. We regularly post videos that delve into deep spiritual topics, provide practical advice, and offer a supportive community for those on a faith journey. Remember, you are not alone in your journey. Embracing your unique spiritual needs can transform the way you experience your faith and your community. Let's continue to support and uplift each other as we grow in our walk with God. Thank you for watching, and may you find peace and purpose in your spiritual solitude.